We're glad to be joined as our guest here, Associate Athletics Director from the University of Hawaii Athletics Department, in charge of External Affairs, Vince BALDEMOR. Vince, thanks for taking some time because I know there isn't a dull moment at the Athletics Department over there on Manoa.
Hey Dave, nice to talk to you. And yeah, no, it's lots of good fun, lots happening on campus, and we're glad our seasons have started.
Your area that you oversee in terms of external affairs, it's a really huge umbrella. I mean, it's strategic partner developments, the marketing and advertising, all of those kind of things, the sponsorships. I mean, prior to this, you were athletic director at Hawaii Pacific University. I mean, before that, you're the president of Ahui Koa Anui Nui. So fundraising and fund development is something, I mean, you've really, rolled your sleeves up in. When it came to the project to have to retrofit TC Ching complex for a football stadium, and yet you raise this fundraising, you establish a goal. When you take all of that under consideration, timeline, the goal amount to raise, was that one of the most intense fund development projects you had ever been a part of?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not something that we ever kind of planned for, right? The whole situation kind of took us by surprise. And credit goes to David Matlin, right, for leading us through this and really having the vision of what we're going to do. So, once that got established, it was all hands on deck. And early on, it was, okay, there is no other option. We will play football on campus September 4th for our first football game. So everybody was in line, right? Everybody's like, okay, what's next, right? Let's make sure that we have, if it's operationally, the lights turn on and the field's down and, where everything is going to go, to the funding, right? And the response has been very positive from the university to start with, to the community, to donors and sponsors and boosters. And, everybody's really been, we get it. And it's been a tough year, and we'll do what we can to help. So that's made it, pretty satisfying.
I mean, I gotta say that project and the fact that it was completed on time, it was ready to go, and it was, I mean, you look at it and it's like just amazing in terms of what had to be done, what was done and completed and is there. It is such an impressive feat. I mean, I hope all of you take at least some time in all this to really pat yourselves on the back, because I consider it, especially with the state bureaucracy that it is to do things like this, to be able to complete that. So having said that, let's get to what's been in the news, or the fact that, fans have not been able to attend a athletic event. What has been the financial impact to date in this fall, sports season without fans coming in, the financial impact on the department?
So I think David Matlin is reported that, for each football game, it's probably about $575,000 per game, that we're losing, right? And then for volleyball, a smaller crowd, but that's probably about $50,000 a game. And that's something from ticket sales, to sponsorships, I mean, those areas that, it's just revenue that we always had that support, but without fans, makes it a little bit more challenging.
And this has been a department where it's not like there's a whole bucket loads of cash coming in from, the conference or what have you. In fact, there's more going out, it seems like, to participate and engage, whether it be the Mountain West for football or even Big West. Is there any, considering what you just said, this for the fall and last season, right, there were no fans as well. Is there any ideas what this financial impact cumulative since 2020?
Yeah, no. I mean, so that's one of the things, right? We got to keep managing our budget and our numbers. So last year, because it was pretty much an entire COVID year, there's about $15.1 million in lost revenue, right? From ticket sales, sponsorships, I mean, all those other revenue generating areas that we have. So as a result of that, we've had to continue to look at how we continue to manage the department, right? And I think, just through expense control and really understanding that, some things we could hold off and not and not cover, we were able to probably cover about 10.5 million in expenses, right? Just to cut them out. So that left us with about $4.6 million net loss, right, for the year. 15.1 minus the 10.5. And any deficit is it's serious, right? We trying to operate, this department and manage the money, but these things that happen, we just have to figure out how to get through it.
I can't imagine, like, I'm sure every small business owner to larger corporations that are significantly impacted by a pandemic in terms of their revenue projections, because you base your budget, how you're going to operate based on history and what you anticipate. So you anticipate so much money coming in. This is what we're going to do this year. There's a huge question mark as to when can fans come in, when, all of that stuff. How do you guys even prepare an operating budget moving forward? Is there like about plan A, B, C, and D?
Yeah, I mean, great question, Dave. That's what we've been doing all, past 18 months or so. We just continue to plan, right? Continue to have all those contingencies. We've been very, privileged to have a loyal fan base, right? Season ticket holders last year, when we knew last year that there were going to be no fans, right? That was probably an easier decision because we knew that, okay, nobody's going to any football game, right? The whole season was going to be fanless. So then we offered them options. You could, get a refund and get your money back. You can roll it over to next year. You could, make a donation. Just, say, here, keep the money, and we know it's going to a good cause. So the season ticket holders were great, and we understood some had to get rebates or refunds, and we worked with every single season ticket holder. This year, because it was kind of a game by game, you never knew if this game was going to have fans or next game going to have fans. It's a little bit more of a challenge, right? Because we're going game by game, and even for women's volleyball, same thing. You can't just say, here are the options, because we want fans in. So we got to figure out that at some point when we're allowed to have fans, then we got to figure out, all right, who comes, right? The season ticket holders, do we charge them a season ticket price? You charge them a prorated price? Do you charge them like an individual game price? So all of those things we're laying out. We're just waiting for the green light, and then we'll plug in the right model.
Vince Baldemor, the Associate Athletics Director at the University of Hawaii for External Affairs, joining us here. One of the areas that kind of comes under your umbrella is the whole role with, corporate relationships, sponsorships, those things, so forth and so on. Now, I know a lot of that is, they're very supportive. I know that, but like any sponsorship, any business that's giving money, there is a point. Because of this uncertainty, and because we're going into a second academic year of, no fans, and that leads to some sponsorship tie-ins there, has there been any concern on that moving forward?
Yeah, no, and I think it's understandable, right? Our corporate partners are, a key partner in our athletics department, and they've got to make ends meet as well, and so we are in constant communication, right? We're talking with them about our situation and trying to find a middle ground, how we can continue to make it work, and for the most part, it's been very positive, right? To be honest, I don't know of any. I'm trying to think and talk at the same time, but I think everybody's been pretty good, right? They're like, we get it, right? We're here with you. We'll still do things where we can. It may not be the level that they've done things in the past, but Hawaii athletics is one of these things where it's more of it's the culture, right? It's a long-term investment, and people want to be associated with us. So we're lucky that they're still there for us.
Because University of Hawaii is the only Division I athletics program currently not allowing fans into their events. And I'm always including women's volleyball. I think always people talk about football all the time. I'm always including them as well. And there is an uncertainty moving forward, men's and women's basketball, so forth and so on. Any feedback or concerns from the conferences, the Big West, Mountain West?
No, they look at our situation and maybe are a little bit confused of why is it so difficult to have fans. And I think the protocols, the health and safety protocols that we've offered, seem reasonable and would create a safe environment. But the conference is supportive, right? We're partners in the conference, and they're doing what they can as well. So at the end of the day, if anything, it probably helps the visiting team, right? Because we have such great fans.
Right.
When they come in here, they don't have to worry about all our loyal fans getting in their ear.
At this point, is there any kind of, I don't know, point or threshold, if you will, where the athletics department would have to make some operational decisions? And of course, the quick one to think of, cutting positions, anything of that nature.
I do think that's what we have to do from a business perspective. We continually evaluate. We hope that things will come back around, right? So we're making decisions so that this might be a temporary fix. And David is with his relationship with President Lasner and others, that's kind of where it starts, right? It starts with how long is this hole, going to be, and what's kind of like the short term and versus the long term, and we'll, in budget meetings, we'll talk often about, if it's travel, right? Because travel's a major part in our department. Or if it's, roster sizes, do we need to take an expanded roster, right? Can we cut back, right? Do we need to leave, 2 nights before a game, right? Maybe we can leave a night before the game to save a hotel. And, so all of those things we continually discuss. I'll tell you that our coaches are phenomenal about that, because they're the ones on the ground and they know, right? They know how bad it is for everybody. And, they're working with the teams, right? So that, we can continue to be frugal with our dollars, but at the same time be, ultra competitive and still win.
Well, I tell you what, I commend you and, of course, Athletic Director David Matlin and everybody at the Athletics Department for being so professional, so patient, and so diligent in this situation that I think, I think, as you can tell what the public response is, there's a lot of people scratching their heads and, the frustrations over it all. But since I have you, I know I want to ask this. You were a former student athlete, right? You played tennis at DePaul. So tennis is kind of your thing. I'm a moderate tennis fan, but what was your go-to shot?
Mine was the intermission, where in between games when you sit there and drink some water. I was really good in between games. No, Dave, that's funny. That I appreciate you breaking out the history book, but yeah, tennis was a great experience for me at DePaul. Being a student athlete was a great experience. Yeah, so I look at our current student athletes now, and you like, oh, you guys have no idea how it was back in the day, right? They're getting nice equipment and food for days, and all this sort of stuff. But I guess my tennis was more of I want to get it over as quickly as possible. So I was a serve and volleyer. I didn't want to be on the court too long and get me home. So that was my strength. We'll have to get out one day and play tennis, Dave.
Oh gosh, yeah. You'll see how easy it is to feel good when you play with me. I tell that about golf as well. Hey, Vince, I want to thank you so much. I know it's very busy for you guys up there because of the constant fluidity of how things are going. But I tell you what, I'm so glad that athletics has been going as well as it has been. I'm so proud of that TC Ching Athletic Complex. You guys did such a marvelous job. And I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Thank you for taking the time.
Well, Dave, it's been a pleasure for me. I appreciate that, you're doing a great job, and we really enjoy our relationship, and thank you for all that you do, not on camera and on air, but off camera as well, because it's nice to see you at our events.